In Africa's Great Rift Valley, a ragged chain of magnificent volcanoes dominates the surrounding savannas. Some are dead, others steam as they sleep, and at least one is very much alive. The most famous of all, the tallest volcano in the world and an icon of Africa, is the Great White Mountain, Kilimanjaro. Snow and ice so near the equator fires the imagination, but Kili's pure white summit may soon be a thing of the past. The glaciers at the top are steadily shrinking. If the life-giving water runs out, will the mountain and all that lives in its shadow die too? Kilimanjaro stands in Tanzania, East Africa, just south of the Kenyan border. Kilimanjaro is a colossus, the largest freestanding mountain in the world. It cannot easily be brought to its knees. Three degrees south of the equator, Kili rises to a height of nearly 6 kilometers. Its footprint covers over 1,600 kilometers, twice the size of London. The immense weight of this massive mountain has depressed the surrounding plains by nearly 200 meters. Its famous snows disguise its own violent volcanic origins. It last exploded 400 years ago. Since then, it's been sleeping, but could awake at any time. Kili lies on an intersection of major fault lines in the Rift Valley. It is built up of 3 volcanoes, not one. Shira was once just over 5,000 meters high. Now its weathered and collapsed cone is under 4,000 meters. Mawenzi erupted 18 kilometers from Shira. 500,000 years ago, Kibo, the highest at just under 5,800 meters, grew in the middle on the shoulders of the others. Of all the animals living in the shadow of Kilimanjaro, none is more associated than elephants. For generations they roamed the length and breadth of the Great White Mountain. Now people have claimed Kili for themselves, and these gentle giants are only found on the northern and western slopes. Today, their main stronghold is Amboseli National Park, just over the Kenyan border below the northern foothills. Elephants survive here because the park is protected and the mountain is a great provider. Kilimanjaro is so big it creates its own weather system. When winds from the sea rise to the top of the mountain, clouds form. They deposit moisture, usually as snow on the peaks, and this filters down through the porous larval rock and a labyrinth of underground aquifers. until it surfaces in swamps and springs in the heart of Amboseli. By mid to late afternoon, the herds begin a march that will take them well beyond the park boundary. Many families move up the mountain where the higher ground and richer earth produce more nutritious and tastier plants. As they head towards the foothills, they move into Maasai thorn bush country. Cattle are a Maasai's prized possession. As long as no elephant kills a cow, the Maasai accept the wild herds grazing alongside their domestic animals. This warrior tribe has a fearsome reputation, but they don't kill game for meat. Neither will they tolerate outsiders hunting in their land. For hundreds of years, they have been unintentional protectors of Kilimanjaro's wilderness and wildlife. However, when rinderpest killed thousands of Maasai cattle, the tribe was weakened, and this allowed an invasion of strangers, including hunters and poachers. Ultimately, this led to the international demand for ivory and the elephant's demise. Although the Maasai do not hunt wildlife for food, a few elephants are speared every year by warriors, proving their might and bravery. These attacks are enough to keep the elephants wary. Elephants have been trudging up Kilimanjaro for thousands of years. They move through the dry thornbush country and up to the cooler meadows, found at around 2,000 meters. This fertile belt is now intensively farmed, and almost all of the elephant's traditional migration routes have gone under the plough. Here, even the Maasai are using their precious cattle to cultivate the fields. As farmers rather than herdsmen, they will not be so willing to share their land with wildlife. Increasingly, there are complaints about destroyed crops and a need for more land. There is one narrow corridor left through which the elephants can move up to the forest, but without good incentives to keep a safe passage open, how long before people look to the corridor to feed an ever-growing number of human mouths? Crops are now planted right next to the forest. Lush fields full of maize, wheat and barley are hard for wild animals to resist. Blue or Sykes monkeys cannot resist such sumptuous fare. When people grow crops right next to the tree line, they're inviting trouble. Big grain farmers expect to lose a percentage of their crop. Unfortunately, a single man with a slingshot has little effect. Monkeys are intelligent. They'll simply hide in the trees until he has passed. True denizens of the forest, black and white colobus monkeys were once a marksman's target. Only 50 years ago, capes made of their silky black and white coats were coveted by the rich and famous. Now they are protected and safe to let their unearthly roars ring out across the trees. The canopy is the monkey's highway in the forest. Many of the trees on Kili's gentler slopes have been felled to make way for agriculture. But between 2,000 and 3,000 meters up the mountain, there's still some rainforest left. And amazingly, there are elephants right up here. Kilimanjaro's elusive forest elephants. Shy and retiring, they try to stay hidden. They are not a different species from the Amboseli families, and the two types occasionally meet when their paths cross. "25 years ago, there were 1,000 forest elephants on the mountain. Now, there are only 220. Poaching for ivory reached fever pitch in the 1980s and hit the Kili elephants badly. Salt is one thing that will entice even the most retiring animal out into the open. Minerals are in short supply on the mountain. They get washed away. But there are exposed places in the forest where mineral-rich veins in the soil have been uncovered by erosion. The forest elephants have the tools to mine for salt.